According to the South Carolina Department of Transportation, this road is not big enough for the traffic that uses it. This habitat would better serve as a 5-lane highway, and the people of this community are less important than driving time. Such are the conclusions of statewide DOT projects, whose multi-million-dollar price tag would cost much more in permanent loss of our natural resources and our quality of life. Near Hollywood, DOT plans for improving the safety of Highway 162 call for either widening this section to 5 lanes or building a divided connector through this private tract of wood and wetlands adjacent to the Dungannon Woodstork Preserve. Both plans were met with considerable community opposition over likely impact to the traditional nature of the Hollywood area. For Wilson Britton, maintaining family property as a wildlife sanctuary has been a passion for more than 70 years. But where he lays down feed for varying species, state markers still show where DOT wanted to lay down lanes of asphalt, provoking the mild-mannered Briton to an activism he says is this land's only hope.
It'd go right through the middle of my property, and that would ruin it. I'd have half on one side and half on the other side, with a 5-lane highway through it. You can see what a mess that would have made if they'd have put that highway through here. And see, the wood stalks is right there too. The 650 acres that was purchased for the wood stalks, and they feed all in here. See, once it's ruined, it's ruined. And you just well forget about it then.
State Representative Robert Brown lives on Highway 162 and fought the proposed widening of the landmarks of community culture.
It depends how far they come over. They could have taken the entire church as well as the entire cemetery. That's a 5-lane. It takes a lot of property. Not to say our large oak trees here. And, you know, in this community, we really care about trees. That's why we're in the country.
After enough opposition stalled the widening plan, community appeals for less intrusive highway safety improvements were completely ignored.
They're not going to do the 5-lane. That's the only decision they've made. However, I'm still pressing them to do the improvement that is needed to Highway 162, such as the potholes, the cracks, the turning lane, resurfacing the road, and realigning the curb.
And what kind of response have you gotten?
I haven't gotten any response from SCDOT yet. They're telling me that they are working on it. But in terms of how long, how much money, and when they're going to do it, I have yet to get a response from SCDOT. But I'm still pushing, and I do want this to happen.
We really don't need a 5-lane highway because we didn't have that much traffic. And even the highway we have now, they can't even maintain it, and much less build a 5-lane highway. They said they don't have the money to repair the highway that we have. So it don't make a lot of sense, you know.
Along this quiet stretch of Highway 17 near McClellanville, DOT planned to use millions of state and federal tax dollars to replace a divided 4-lane thoroughfare with even larger Interstate 73. The project was met with an outpouring of opposition from the people of McClellanville, who realized the drastic impact of building a major interstate to their uniquely historic coastal community, as well as irreparable consequences to the pristine nature of nearby Santee Coastal Reserve, Cape Romaine National Wildlife Refuge, and the Francis Marion National Forest. DOT planned to turn this minimal flow of vehicles near McClellanville into the major artery for southbound traffic through South Carolina, threatening this peaceful, tiny village where harvesting nature's bounty has been a tradition for nearly 200 years, prompting concerned residents like Jenny Prevost and Bill Youngman to make a decisive stand.
Back in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a proposed oil refinery in Georgetown. And at that time, those of us that were involved in fighting the oil refinery gathered up a whole bunch of information about impacts that would have been necessary, as in increased road size and so forth. And the statistics about what happens to a small community like McClellanville when you put an interstate close by is just appalling. Drug rates go up, crime rate goes up, mom and pop grocery stores and stuff that have been here forever just disappear. What you get instead are large, ugly chain things which have no relationship to the character of the community.
Some signs appeared on Highway 17 that said future home of Interstate 73. And a number of people saw that, went to town council, said what's going on, and that was the beginning of a citizens committee that formed that began to look into it and ultimately decide that it wasn't something that McClellanville wanted or needed, and we began to fight it.
DOT had announced their plans for the future of McClellanville without any consideration for the people who live there, and the little village just said no.
They couldn't understand why we didn't think it was a wonderful thing. You know, DOT's in the business of building roads, and to them a road is wonderful. To us, it wasn't necessarily wonderful.
In every community, no matter how small or how big, community involvement, individual involvement, you have to be alert. You have to pay attention to what's going on around you and decide whether that's the way you want your community to go. If people in McClellanville and up and down the coast have not said, we don't want I-73, we would have had I-73.
The tiny village of McClellanville proved to be a David to the DOT's Goliath, raising enough public awareness and opposition to stop I-73 before it permanently altered the landscape and the community. Biologist Dr. Gene Everett has made detailed studies of the fragile ecosystems throughout the Francis Marion National Forest, where DOT plans to upgrade sparsely used Steed Creek Road include drainage systems that would be devastating to vital wetland precosins.
If they go through with the plan and put these deep industrial strength ditches along the road, all these isolated wetlands would be drained. So all of this would be physically gone first, damaged by building the road, and then drainage would kill off the rest of it.
Another predictable result of upgrading roads is loss of regular controlled burning, so crucial to sustaining abundant forest savannas.
The savannas are our most biologically diverse along-with-pine communities. They're one of the most diverse communities in the world. Many ecologists consider them second only to tropical rainforests in their diversity, and they certainly have on the highest small-scale diversities of species in the whole world. These areas are fire maintained. Fire is essential for these areas. Fire produces smoke, and when smoke is on the road, they have to close the road. And if there begin to be too many complaints about that, the Forest Service will reasonably burn elsewhere.
Without adequate burning to curb understory growth, ravaging forest fires become a greater probability.
Losing fire maintenance on this particular area would be a huge loss because it's one of the best long-pine savannas left in the forest.
Dr. Everett warns that DOT plans for the forest would forever alter the well-being and safety of surrounding areas for the sake of extending miles of roadbed that's only used by 300 cars a day.
There's just no reason to do this. There's no reason to widen this road. It's inexplicable to me, and I've never been able to get a reasonable explanation of why they want to widen this road, and certainly not why they want to drain all the wetlands along this road. I mean, this is federal land. This is public land. It belongs to all of us.